Yeah! Here we go!
It's time for TSS Fantasy.
It is Commissioner Cooper.
I could do a whole 49ers show right now.
Ready to rock out with my gavel out.
Oh yeah, baby!
Don't sleep on my Patriots email.
We're ready for football. Is that
Joe Burrow with his wrist? I'm curious.
I find you guilty of all charges.
Although you assistant force in this one,
they develop some really great
DJ Chuck Bass.
This guy has been doing it ever since coming off.
I hope you like the web.
He's made 4 targets in all 3 of the last
games. For a touchdown this year.
You know, the great thing about being a football player is you don't have to take a shower to go to work.
There it is.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Commissioner Cooper, and I'm having terrible camera support, but it's time to wake up with TSS Fantasy. Justin, that's you. Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
I even brought Brian in early. I don't know what the hell's going on, obviously, this Saturday morning. Sorry about that. So anyway, I'm glad you're here joining us this morning. It's divisional round of the playoffs. So we're excited this morning, excited to bring you some good content as we get ready. Look, we even got Andrew LeDuc signing in, headed to basketball, but with us in spirit. Well, thank you, LeDuc. We appreciate you. I know you're not playing basketball. All right, so let's get things started off this morning. Obviously, let's pay the bills real quick. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a solid, hit subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment. All those little things that are not stopping you from doing it, but they're big things popping for us when you do. So we highly appreciate it. Also, don't forget, if you're going to play some DFS, go to Underdog Fantasy, use the promo code TSS. We'll double your deposit up to $100. Nothing better than that. Also, if you're looking for championship bling for that fantasy champion, look no further than Pro-Am belts. As I said earlier, my apologies if my audio doesn't sound that great, having some difficulties here this morning. But let's get the introduction started. Let's go with Justin Jesus Herrera. Welcome to the building, sir.
Oh, yeah. Go Commanders. Go Ravens. Let's go local teams. Come on, guys. Push through. We're going to win it. If you have heard anything from me this year, you know that this is actually a lie. I'm not really rooting for the local team. Sorry, Greg. I love you, but the bandwagon ends this week. The Lions are going to stomp a mud hole in that ass.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some last week here in a little bit, but it's funny because some of those teams that we said that everyone's little favorite darling ended up not being so darling after all. All right, well, I would introduce Brian, but, you know, I like wrestling and stuff, so I got to give Brian his intro music. So let's bring in Brian with his Inside the Medical Tent. Let's go.
A.J. Dillon just went into the medical tent a moment ago.
Just like that. There he goes. He's in the building. Welcome in, my friend, Brian Scott. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Well, thanks for having me. This is my favorite time of fantasy year because I get to kind of just sit back. There's only a few teams I have to even worry about doing injury updates on, and I can just enjoy the playoff football atmosphere. So I'm all for this. Let's do it.
Right. I think that's I thought about that last weekend, actually, when the wildcard games were on. I'm like, you know, it is kind of nice just watching stress-free football. But at the same time, I thought, well, maybe that's just something we tell ourselves when our teams are out. I don't know.
That too. Yes. Even though I still wear the hat. I know.
Me too. I'm still repping. It's all good. All right, Brian, who we got for on the medical 10? Like you said, not too many big injuries, but what do we got going on?
Yeah, well, so it's no surprise that the teams that are still standing have been fairly healthy for the entire year. What's remarkable, I think, right now is when you look at the Chiefs roster, okay? So let's start with their game against the Texans, who are dealing with some injuries as well. But the Chiefs, I mean, they pretty much have back the entire roster from their preseason, which is kind of crazy when you think about some of the injuries that they got hit with at that time of the year. The only guy who's like even really questionable at this point is Mecole Hardman. And he was on IR for the longest time. They got Jalen Watson back, their cornerback. He recently just cleared IR and has made a return, even though I think he might carry a questionable tag. He's going to be suiting up. I mean, they got Pacheco back. I mean, like, you talk about great timing. And then what they were able to do in the regular season and take home number 1 seed and get a bye there. Dude, they have had 23 days to rest their starters and guys who are coming off IR and injuries before this game today. So they are like in prime position to make a run here. And I hate to say it because I'm like ready for somebody else to kind of take the helm here. But I mean, you couldn't ask for a better turn of events when it comes to injuries, because early in the year, it was looking pretty bleak for them. So that's huge. Now, the Texans, Joe Mixon was dealing with an ankle issue. This guy's dealing with ankle issues his entire career. He was limited in practice, but it sounds like he's going to be good to go. So you could see Pierce Mixon kind of tag team duo back there in the running back position. The only other guy that was really kind of questionable that may or may not play was Robert Woods. He was dealing with some hip issue. Aside from that, on the defensive and offensive side of the ball, they should be good to go. Dalton Schultz had some issue with his shoulder, but it sounds like he's been removed from the injury report as of Friday, so he should be full to go. So again, most teams are going to be healthy this time of year that have made it this far. So there shouldn't be any big surprises here. Heading over to the Commanders and the Lions. Now, this is huge. The Lions are going to get Montgomery back. And this guy was a guy who injured his MCL. There was talk about possibly season-ending surgery. He had like 3 medical opinions. He opted for non-surgical treatment, did some like aggressive, extensive rehab over the last several weeks here, and was actually a full participant in practice this week and is going to play. So that's pretty big news for them, because now you got the Jahmyr Gibbs Montgomery duo back there again, which was very successful throughout the season. The only guys that they're kind of missing out on is Kevin Zeitler, their guard. He's going to be out with a hamstring injury. They've got a couple of guys on the defensive side of the ball too who are listed as questionable, who may not suit up. But overall, the Lions have been fairly healthy all year, so that's good for them. The Commanders, one of the big question marks was around their stud linebacker, Bobby Wagner, who had a huge pivotal play against Tampa Bay where he scooped up a fumble. He missed 2 practices early in the week with some type of ankle injury, but it sounds like he's going to be playing. They might have just been giving him some extra rest. And at this time of year, that's really all you can do. Moving over to the Sunday games, you got the Rams and the Eagles. Now, historically, over the last few years, the Eagles have been one of the healthiest teams on paper of any team in the league, and that's a big reason for their success, and that's not changing this season either. The only guy really even out is the defensive tackle, Brian Young, with a hamstring issue. Other than that, man, they are full go. There was some concern about A.J. Brown not practicing this week, but it was just a rest day. He practiced in full on a Friday, so there's no issue there. And same thing with Dallas Goedert. He had some illness that he was dealing with, but was a full go on Friday, or a limit on a Friday, but he'll be playing. So no big surprise there. And then the Rams got a couple of banged up players on the defensive side of the ball. One of their defensive ends and inside linebackers will be out. And then they've got a couple of guys in the back cornerback position and that are listed as questionable, but on the offensive side, they're looking pretty good too. So moving over to the Ravens-Bills, Ravens, Zay Flowers now is possibly coming back. He was listed doubtful on Friday, but I think he might have actually gotten downgraded to out, and you guys can check me on that. He's dealing with a knee issue. He didn't really practice all week, but John Harbaugh, I'm sorry, and Flowers both were saying that he has a chance to suit up still. So there's a lot of misreporting there, some confusion anyway. You guys can check on that, but he's a big possible influencer in that game. So pay attention to that. And then the Bills, really, man, the Bills have been healthy all year too. Just Ray Davis is coming off a concussion. He practiced in a limited fashion a couple days this week. Whether or not he's off the concussion protocol, though, I don't know yet. So that could be a game time decision possibly if he gets cleared in time. But other than that, man, that's it. There's really no other major injuries to speak of. This time of year, a lot of that stuff gets thrown out the window. It's time to suit up and earn your paycheck in the playoffs here.
Indeed. Just to follow up, Zay Flowers looks like doubtful But also running back Ray Davis was in concussion protocol, which I didn't know about till just now when you said to look it up. So just to keep that in mind as well, could mean big things for James Cook if you're playing DFS, if Ray Davis is out for today. So just something to take note of. Quick question I have for you, just kind of off the beaten topic, off of today. Because it came up and he's a pretty polarizing figure in the NFL. Not that his play has reflected that, but Deshaun Watson coming again, re-aggravating or re-tearing his Achilles. What do you think his prospects are? Obviously, next year seems like it's out of the question, but what do you think his prospects are just going forward as an athlete, just for guys that are playing Dynasty and may perhaps still have him on their roster?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge concern to have to go through one Achilles tendon repair at that age in this level of a league at this point in his career is not good. But then, you get a quarter of the way into your rehab and then have a setback like this and have to undergo a repair is massive, because there's several different scenarios that can play out during that revision Achilles tendon repair, and that can severely affect the rehab, the healing time, and his ability to bounce back as good as he would have the first time around. So it's potentially career altering, and it could potentially have him miss all of next year. So now you just fast forward the clock even further down the road, another year added to his biological age. It's not good at all. It's a huge problem, and I believe it's his back leg too, for when he pivots and stuff and throws. So that's even more of a problem. But yeah, it's never good when you have a re-injury or re-rupture of a primary Achilles tendon repair. That is never good. It's basically like a bomb went off in there a lot of times, and it makes the repair twice as difficult as it would have been the first time around. And there's a lot of different scenarios that can play out that will affect how that's carried out in the surgery, which will then affect the duration and extensiveness of the rehab. So it's huge.
Yeah, indeed. I just want to point that out for the guys that are in Dynasty, happen to have them on their roster as well. It's the Black Harry Potter. Good morning from Sacramento. Damn, you're up early, bro. Ooh, we definitely waking up with us. Appreciate you checking in, my brother.
Not to keep my own horn there, Jason, but when we heard the head coach come out and say that he had a setback, I tweeted, I was like, there's only one of two things that could have happened. Like, he either retore it, or he aggravated it going too hard in therapy, or did something he wasn't supposed to too soon. We don't quite know what caused the re-injury. There's a lot of speculation out there. I think he was in Miami at the time this happened. So you can draw your own conclusions. But when you hear that type of reporting, it is not good news. We were all over it here at That Sports Podcast Network. So kudos to the guys, man. We jumped on that right away. We called it. But yeah, terrible news out of
No, absolutely. Hopefully he wasn't getting a massage and got the repair. All right, Brian, where can we follow you, subscribe, get all your great content?
Yeah, so things are winding down a little bit for me as the season comes to a close here. I'll probably put out a Super Bowl episode. I usually do every year on the podcast, just kind of going through some injury statistics and pointing out that the teams that make it to the big dance are usually some of the healthiest teams in the league all year. So pay attention. I'll have that coming out soon, hopefully. And then you can follow me on X at Injured List Pod, Instagram, Facebook, The Injured List Podcast, the website, theinjuredlist.com, and then, of course, on That Sports Podcast Network with various shows throughout the year covering all different kinds of sports.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, you'll be on our Super Bowl special for sure. So we'll definitely see you then. All right, my friend. Well, have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. And we'll send everybody out with our friends from NeuroGuard. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Dr. Michael Hutchison has harnessed the latest in neuromuscular dentistry and impact technology to develop a mouthguard that does more than protect. It enhances. NeuroGuard Plus isn't just a mouthguard. By focusing on the jaw's physiological position, it provides an added layer of neuroprotection, significantly reducing the risk of sports-related neurological injuries. All athletes should be using a custom mouthguard designed to their bite position. NeuroGuard Plus was created as a means to maintain your physiological jaw position regardless of your bite. The appliance is designed to optimize your upper-lower jaw relationship to improve your strength, your balance, your oxygen intake, and drastically lower your chance of a concussion. Independent studies have shown that the NeuroGuard Plus will provide you with improvement to both upper and lower body strength. The same improvements were not present with a common mouthguard. Over 6,500 athletes have used the NeuroGuard Plus. Dr. Hutchison is happy to say that the amount of diagnosed concussions is 0.2%. The NeuroGuard Plus offers athletes, coaches, and parents an advantage to keep their players safe on the field. If you or your child actively participates in athletics, they need to be protected from the dangers of repetitive head trauma. Get your NeuroGuard Plus mouthguard today. Click on the link and use code ILPSports for 10% discount on your purchase.
Go check out our friends at NeuroGuard Plus indeed. All right, well, if you want to make some money today, we got the guy here to help you do it. Let's get Eric in with some prop bets.
Hey, 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 hey. Smoke weed every day.
Good morning, Eric. How are we this morning?
Excellent. Feeling great. You know, I wear one of those mouth guards to sleep at night because the grind never stops. And my dentist tells me that. So those things are good. Those things get it involved in your life. Well, this is, some say, the best weekend of football all season. All the best teams. We got 4 games this weekend. We should be able to find one winner in each, right? Let's try one of these underdog entries. We got DeAndre Hopkins higher than 30.5 receiving yards. This is a number he hits every single week, except that last game versus Pittsburgh. There's no reason he can't catch 2 for 31 versus former team. I thought about old Fairbairn over 1.5 field goals because that's been automatic, but the Chiefs have a way of making you go for it on 4th down. People are worried about field goals don't beat the Chiefs. So we're staying away from the kicker. We're going with D-Hop. Jahmyr Gibbs, longest rush, higher than 18.5 yards. This kid is a highlight machine. He's broken off runs of 28 versus Chicago, 45 versus Minnesota, 30 versus San Francisco. He had a 70-yard touchdown run versus Tennessee. He has runs of over 18 in 10 of his 17 games played this season, and 2 more games he had runs of exactly 18 or more. So I like our chances. And then we got Joshua Carty, higher than 1.5 made field goals. He went 4 of 4, 2 of 2, 4 of 4, 2 of 2. This kid does not miss. And I think he'll be called upon to make some kicks today, considering the Eagles defense only lets you score a touchdown on 33% of red zone trips. I think this will be a closer game than some folks think. If field goals will matter, he kicked 5 against the Dolphins. I mean, McVay is not afraid to trot Carty out there in times of need. Then we got Joshua Allen, higher than 44.5 rushing yards. Both QBs absolutely have to win this game if they don't want to be considered a loser. This is a legacy game, the likes of which we haven't seen since Peyton Manning defeated Tom Brady 20 years ago. In games he has to have, Josh Allen puts the team on his back and runs for yardage. His attempts are set at 8.5. I cannot picture this dude taking off 8 or 9 times and not clearing 45 yards. And we put those 4 together, pays 10x our entry fee, which sounds good to me.
Sounds great to me. I love it. Yeah, go to Underdog Fantasy, use that promo code TSS, and we'll double that deposit. And then you're getting double and 10 times and everything. Indeed. Eric, where can we follow, subscribe, get all your great content, my friend?
I am at PSR Host Guy on the Twitter, or Patriot Sports Radio is available at PSR The Show.
Awesome. And hopefully we'll have you on for our Super Bowl special as well, although I haven't asked you about that yet, but I'm asking about it now. So
I'm
hopefully
so there.
we'll
I'm already in the waiting room.
Awesome. All right. Good stuff, my friend. Well, enjoy your Saturday. Thanks for waking up with us as always, and we'll see you next time.
You too.
All right, we're going to send Eric out with our boy, Andrew LeDuc. Even though he's out watching basketball right now, he blessed us enough to do some sophisticated DFS starts this week. So let's check it out.
What's up, my sophisticated friends? This is Sophistication Station as we head into the divisional round of the playoffs. I know, different location. You know why? Because it's cold outside. And yes, my basement is also still pretty cold, but it's not as cold as out in that New England weather. So we're going to do Sophistication Station indoors today. So let's get to it, because there's a couple guys that you can play in DFS this week that should hopefully get you over the hump, to say. So now we obviously only have a few games to go off of now, so there's going to be a lot of ownership issues, but there's a lot of chances here for us. So we're going to go high. We're going to squeeze in Derrick Henry into our lineup.
Oh la la!
Derrick Henry is a beast. They're going to continue to pound Derrick Henry on that Ravens offense, and Lamar Jackson as well. It's going to be running all day. So Derrick Henry against Buffalo, love it. I also love Hollywood Brown in Kansas City, mainly because he's now had a few weeks with the bye week to be able to kind of settle into the offense, more practice time. They have to throw to somebody in this offense if they want to make another run at the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes knows that. Andy Reid knows that. They've been waiting for Hollywood Brown, someone like him. So I think they finally get him going, utilize him. So I love that, especially at his price. I think he's like 4,500 on DraftKings. So Hollywood Brown, and then Scary Terry McLaurin in Washington against Detroit, mainly because that Detroit defense still gives up plays. We've seen it week after week after week. So I love McLaurin. That should be a very entertaining game. McLaurin should find the end zone in that game. So get him in your DFS lineups. And as always, my friends, stay classy.
Damn, that's a cold ass honky. Punch you in the face. You would have to fight off the strong urge to thank him.
All right. Thank you, Andrew LeDuc. Much appreciated. All right, Justin, let's get to it. You know what time it is. It's time to get your muscle shirt on. Looks like I already got one on. And we're going to do some ultimate DFS lineups.
The power of the Ultimate Warrior.
All right, well, let's take a look, of course, at our results from last week. And let's get it started with, of course, our goon of the week. Justin, I hate to say it, you're here. It is you, my brother. I am sorry to say 91.3. Obviously, Aaron Jones, he hit me hard too, so I'm not hitting you too hard for that. That was just an awful performance. Of course, the Vikings thought they had established the run after they were down by 20-something points, which made sense. So J.K. Dobbins was a bit of a disappointment. Wicks as well. So some disappointments in there. So unfortunately, not too bad, I guess, but only a couple points more is Fred. I guess he's enjoying that cruise an awful lot because he didn't even send a DFS lineup this week, so you know he must be having a good time. But unfortunately for him, his good time didn't last last week, 93.3. I at least got over 100, but it wasn't much over. Aaron Jones, like I said, hurt me as well. I had some good play with Goddard, which is Cooper Kupp really hurt as well. I don't know what happened to that guy. Jeez, oh please. And so let's see who our winner was. It was not LeDuc. He came in number two on the weekend, only 2 points higher than me. McConkey put in a big number, so that was a great play there. He got hurt by Cooper Kupp, and then Herbert as well did not play as well, but at least when he did, he went to McConkey, so at least he had that going for us. His little play on Zacchaeus didn't work out either, so unfortunately. But our winner was Big Greg. Look at this lineup. He had McConkey as well with Jaden Daniels. Man, if he just would have got off the J.K. Dobbins and Cooper, he might be hitting for a big day. But either way, he is our winner of the week. Congratulations, Greg.
And his name is John C.
So we'll go in order of who had won. So this is Greg's lineup for this week. He likes Jaden Daniels. He agrees with LeDuc, spending some money on Derrick Henry this week. David Montgomery comes in as a nice play as well. He likes D-Hop. He went with Goddard and Command. You know he loves those Commanders, so went with that Commanders defense as well. So there's Greg's lineup for this week. Let's check out LeDuc's. A little different. Went with Lamar, but he also paid up big time for his running backs. He got Saquon and Derrick Henry in the mix. Ooh-wee. As soon as I saw that, I was like, man, I'm going to copy this lineup right here because that's tough to do. You got Lamar, Barkley, and Henry all in the same lineup. Boy, you can't go wrong with that. And then some possible good plays with Noah Gray and Shakir. So, yeah, I like this lineup a lot, actually. All right, let's look at my lineup for this week. So here we go. I went with Josh Allen, and why the hell not? Josh Allen versus Baltimore. He's going to get it done on the ground as well in the air. Baltimore's 26 against fantasy QBs, so I like the play. Really like Derrick Henry this week. I mean, we know Buffalo hasn't been all that great against the run. They're 24th in the league against fantasy running backs, so I like it. I went with Jahmyr Gibbs as well in my lineup versus Washington. I had a sneaky suspicion the Lions may get up on Washington a little early, so you may see a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs in this game. Terry McLaurin, you can't go wrong with Terry. Terry's scary, and as I just mentioned, if the Lions are up, that means the Commanders going to have to throw. Detroit is 31st against fantasy receivers. I also went with D-Hop with that revenge factor this week against Houston. They're 21st against receivers. Cooper against the Ravens, a little combo there for Josh Allen. Although Cooper and Josh Allen haven't hooked up that much, he is a good, at least, value at 4,400, being that Baltimore's 27th against fantasy receivers. The Rams are really, really bad against tight ends. So I think Goddard's a good play today. They're 31st in the league against fantasy tight ends. And then for my flex, I did the double tight end deal with Mark Andrews at Buffalo, 4,500. They are 11th against fantasy receivers or tight ends. I'm sorry. So not necessarily a great play, but it was a good value in the flex spot. And then I went with Texans D. The bottom line is we know Pat Mahomes may end up making some mistakes. Hasn't been the Pat Mahomes of old. So I kind of like to see the Texans at least make some plays today. Cap for Life, good morning to you, my brother. Appreciate you joining us this morning. As always, so appreciate you being a dedicated follower. We appreciate that, my brother. And fins up, baby. All right, let's go to Justin. What is your DFS lineup this week?
Yeah, so I went a complete opposite direction as you guys. I went with Patrick Mahomes because the P in Patrick Mahomes doesn't just stand for Patrick, it stands for playoffs. This fucking guy is playoff Mahomes. He always gets off when the time is right. And the time is absolutely right, and the setting is perfect. Houston Texans don't offer a defense that's very complex. I think he's going to carve it up this week. He's going to show the world why he's Patrick Mahomes once again. Then we got – I love Saquon Barkley on this one. I just think that this is the perfect matchup for him to show his playoff chops. Last week did not go as well as he would have wanted it to, but the Rams, I think it's going to be a perfect match for him. David Montgomery coming back. If we know one thing about MCDC, that's Dan Campbell. David Montgomery will always be a part of the plan as long as he's healthy. Then we went with the flex, Jameson Williams. I think this could just be a giant game for the Lions. One of those games that really shows off every one of their weapons going forward into the playoffs. I got A.J. Brown here. I think that A.J. Brown is going to be critical to Jalen Hurts showing off once again why he is a threat in the playoffs. I think that he's going to have a huge game against the Rams this week. I think it's going to be feed A.J. Brown. All we heard out of that game was, is Jalen Hurts really a quarterback that should be playing in the playoffs? Because it looked like he was, not doing so great with only, I think, 150 or so yards and clean pockets everywhere. Wasn't diagnosing everything. I think he gets back to being who Jalen Hurts is, and I think A.J. Brown's going to be a big recipient of that. I stuck with the Browns, and I went with Hollywood Brown next. Hollywood Brown really got started against that Houston Texans team, and I think he's going to really have a big role in this playoffs, and I think the role is going to be as the D-Hop. I think everybody's expecting D-Hop to be the main receiver. I think Hollywood Brown is going to be the main receiver. I think they're going to show you why they signed Hollywood Brown and the intention they had with Hollywood Brown in the beginning. I fully expect a big game from Hollywood Brown today against the Houston Texans. Then we got Rashad Bateman. I love the matchup. Zay Flowers, if he doesn't go, it's even juicier. Bateman's just he's shown that he has potential. I think this is the game that he could show that he has that over-the-top potential where he could actually be a game breaker. Sam Laporta, Tight ends are kind of starting to light it up. This could also be easily a Travis Kelce if you want to take a defense that's a little bit lesser. But Sam Laporta, I think, is going to be a great matchup. And like I said, I think this is going to be a tour de force for the Lions. I think everybody's going to get a little bit in this one. And then the Chiefs defense, it's just the best defense available outside of the Philly, the Eagles. But, I think that the Chiefs has already handled Houston this year. And I think that the CJ Stroud may have had a really good game, a really good second half, I'll say, against the Chargers, but I don't think the Chiefs are going to let him put it together for any halves in this one. I think he's going to have a really bad game overall. The Chiefs, a well-rested Chiefs defense is nothing to flick your nose at. This is a team that you don't want to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, 100% agreed. I just didn't want to spend up on the D, but yeah, you're right. Spot on with that. All right, well, before we get to our picks and talk about these games this week, let's talk about some weather.
It's time for the weather report.
All right, so the game you don't have to worry about the weather is the Commanders at Detroit, obviously in a dome, so we're good there. Let's go with today's game, Texans at the Chiefs. It's 24 degrees, damn, but it's clear skies, so good news there, 12-mile-an-hour winds. Shouldn't be too impactful, but it's going to be pretty cold. That's for sure. But speaking of cold, the Sunday slate, we get ready for some snow because you got the Rams at the Eagles. I mean, it says definite snow. I think I read somewhere it was going to start snowing around about 12:30, around there, predicted anyway. So 32 degrees, 9-mile-an-hour winds. So it's going to be pretty chilly in Philly. And then follow that up with Baltimore at Buffalo. 13 degrees, and it says likely snow, 8-mile-an-hour winds, precipitations at 55%, so I would expect to see snow as well in that one as well. So just a heads up, we're going to have some snowy games on Sunday. That's always fun for the playoffs. All right, well, let's get to it. Let's talk about the games for this week.
We're on a mission, guys.
All right, our results from last week show why we made the show. Nobody knows shit. But Justin and Greg both lead the charge, 4-2. The rest of us were 3-3 because you just never know. Chargers with a big surprise last week. That's what I was mentioning earlier. How I had said how the Broncos were going to get blown out last week because there's always that team that everyone's all hyped on and don't come through. Excuse me. It ended up not only just being the Broncos, but the Chargers. We were all like, oh, this is a team that can make a deep playoff run. And then the Texans actually played a decent game and beat them, surprisingly enough. So there you go. We're all just guessing, aren't we? Let's talk about today's game. We'll start with today's first, of course. Texans at Chiefs. The Chiefs lead the series 10-5. They've actually won 4 in a row in the series. They played in week 16, and KC won 27-19. There was 2 interceptions by CJ Brown, so there goes your Chiefs defense. Tank Dell actually had a big game. He's not in the mix, and both running backs in that matchup, Mixon and Hunt, only hit 55 yards. So wasn't a lot of stuff on the ground for that one. In the playoffs, KC leads the series 2-0. Last time they played was in 2020. It was the AFC wild card. KC won 51-31. Ooh-wee. KC's favored by 8.5, and the over-under on this one is 41.5. Who do you think wins this, my friend?
Yeah, KC goes to 3-0 in the playoffs in 5 straight. KC wins this game in pretty easy fashion in my book.
So we say that now, and we thought Chargers would have an easy time with Texans last week, and look what the Texans did. So, I mean, we know the Chiefs.
I'll say this, worst case scenario, the Chiefs lose, and I get what I really wanted to begin with.
Indeed. So I'm just making the case for the Texans. Obviously played some good football last week, played good defense. We know the Chiefs have struggled at times this season, so could possibly be a decent game. No, I don't think so. Put the hammer down. KC's winning this thing. I agree with Justin. I don't think there's much hope for the Texans in this one, but you never know. Like I said, Texans played Chargers well last week, so we shall see indeed. All right, let's go to the next one. The Commanders at the Lions. Now, Commanders lead this series 31-16. Detroit has won 2 in a row, however, and they've won 6 out of the last 7. So obviously a big comeback in the series. So last time they played was in 2022. Detroit won 36-27. It was actually a big Carson Wentz day. And Antonio Gibson was the running back as well. So it tells you where they were at. Playoffs, Washington actually leads the series 3-0. When I was going through it, looks like they played a game back in like 1947 as well. That's included in there. Last time they played was in 2000. The NFC wild card, Washington won 27-13. Detroit is favored by 8.5, and the over/under is 55.5. Who do you think wins this and why?
I got the Lions winning. I think that the story is real nice for Jaden Daniels, but I think the Lions are just too much of a force on offense. They're just going to be you're going to have to score every single time on their defense, and I don't think that offense is capable of scoring every single time on their defense because the Lions are just going to push that defense around. Baker Mayfield last week pushed that defense around, and he's still lost. You know, if he had a better defense, he probably would have won that game. But you know, a lucky fumble happened, and you know, Washington was able to get it back and score again. I don't think that's going to happen against Detroit. I think Detroit's too locked in right now. Their focus is, you know, getting to the next round, and DC's got them like straight up ready to go, ready to run through a fucking wall for him. He's getting players back now, which is good. I think it's just going to be, I hate to say it, but I do think it's going to be a rout.
The Commanders defense surprised me last week. You say Baker, pushed them around, but they made plays when it mattered last week. It was really surprising, quite frankly. So again, not to say, I'm not going to say the Commanders are going to upset them, but they have seemed to be that team of destiny this year. Winning that Hail Mary, I guess I think it was against the Bears, and all that kind of good stuff. So it's a good story. I don't know. There's just, if it was in Washington, maybe I'd give them a shot, but in Detroit, you know how long they've been salivating for a Super Bowl berth. I just don't see them losing this game. So I also went with Detroit. Greg's not here to defend his lone wolf, but he is our lone wolf this week. We obviously know he is a Commanders dick rider. So, so let's give it to Greg. Our lone wolf, and a fun TSS fantasy stat. Did you know, because I do these graphics and it's easier for me to especially when the lone wolf's I keep them aside. The last time Greg went lone wolf was back in week 4. That's how far it has been since Greg totally disagrees with us. And you know what it was? It was the Commanders against the Cardinals. The Commanders won that game 42-14. So maybe Greg got a little something juice going. You never know. Greg. We'll keep the faith for you. All right, let's get it going with Sunday's lineup. Rams at Eagles. Eagles lead the series 24-20-1. Phillies won 2 in a row and 7 out of the last 8. They played this season. It was in week 12. Philly won 37-20. Just to throw this out there, Barkley 255 yards against the Rams and 2 touchdowns. Stafford also had a good game, 243 and 2 TDs. Again, in the playoff series, the Rams lead 2-1. Last time they played was 2002. It was the NFC wild card, and the Rams won 29-24. Philly is favored by 6, and the over-under is 43.5. Who do you think wins this one?
Oh, yeah. So back when the Rams won, the Rams were the team to beat. This time around, it's the Eagles. I think that the Rams, beautiful freaking story. Hearts go out to Los Angeles. I still got family out there. I text them a lot. It's going good out there. It's not going good, but it's getting better is what I'm trying to say. And I hope it continues to get better. I hope they get those things under control. But the reality is this is where the buck stops for the Rams. Their miracle season ends here because the Eagles are not going to let you get out of Philly without an ass whooping. And this team has the ability to whoop your ass on both sides of the football and on special teams. So this is the team that's going to bully you with Saquon, and they're going to bully you with Jordan Davis and that defensive line. So I don't expect the Rams to be too much into this fight. I expect them to kind of put up something, but I expect this one to be one of those games where the Eagles just kind of get it started early with the run, and then just start freaking making this miserable for them on every single down, like one of those trenches games where your defensive linemen come out with like freaking handprints on them because they just got fucked up all game long. I'm expecting that type of a game. I'm expecting Jared Verse to get thrown around a little bit, and just this whole defensive line to just not see what's coming their way. And that's fucking 5 offensive linemen that are trying to get to the NFC title game.
Yeah, and again, mentioning the weather, being a snow game as well. I'll say it again, 255 yards for Saquon Barkley last time these teams played. Not to say he may get that, but if I'm him, you had me resting. I couldn't get my record. Well, you bet your butt I'm going to show you what time it is when we get into this round. So I like Saquon obviously a lot today as well, especially with the weather. So obviously, as you know, if you've seen the show before, I ain't sleeping on no couch. I'm definitely going Eagles in this matchup. Our boy Fred, who last week lone wolf the Rams, lone wolfs them again this week. Freddie likes but he's been picking against the Eagles all year, I've noticed. So for Fred, good luck on that lone wolf, my friend, because that's going to be a tough one to pull off. All right, let's finish things up with the Ravens at Bills, the game of the weekend, if you will. Ravens lead the series 7-5. They played in week 4, and the Ravens won 35-10. And I'm going to throw this again. Derrick Henry, 199 yards and a touchdown. Lamar actually had 3 total TDs in that game as well. In the playoffs, the Bills lead the series 1-0. Last time they played in the playoffs was 2021, and the Bills won 17-3. Baltimore actually is favored in this one by 1.5. The over-under is 51.5. Very surprising to me that a road team in the playoffs is favored. So, again, we all thought this is going to be the game of the week, and it certainly seems it's leading up to it. But who do you think wins this one?
Yeah, I'm going with the Bills in this game. I think this is the MVP game, and honestly, I think that most people should look at this game and go, okay, whoever comes out of this, because it's really going to come down to it. I know that the Bills are going to try and stop Derrick Henry, so they're not going to be focused on. Well, they're going to be focused on Lamar, obviously, but they're going to have to divert their focus, a little bit of their attention from one of those targets, and I think it'll be Lamar. And Josh Allen, what he's going to do. He's going to try and be spectacular. So who out-spectaculars who in this game? Who does it better? And then just give the MVP rightfully to that person. I think neither guy would ever have a problem with any of that, because it'd be like, yeah, just let us show down for it, And then next week they'll go into Kansas City and it'll be all for naught because they're going to lose to Patrick Mahomes. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be game of the week easily. I don't think it's going to be as decisive as the first game where it was 35-10. Much closer game in my book, and I think it's really going to show the nature of both Lamar and Josh Allen and how spectacular and rare their games are in this league, because these are two guys that, in any other situation, if the Chiefs didn't have Spags, they didn't have Andy Reid, they didn't have Patrick Mahomes, they didn't have everything working for them, these guys would both have a Super Bowl in their mantle, because they played that damn good in their respective seasons where they've gone on to play the Chiefs in the AFC title game. So, these are Marino and Elway type guys where it's just like, you just wonder how they haven't won a title yet, So that's kind of my little rant on them. I'm looking forward to this game a lot. This is going to be a fun one to watch while I'm bowling.
I wish they would do things like that, because that would make the most sense. Let's have These two teams are playing in the playoffs. You got both these guys are at the top of the MVP voting. Whoever wins gets MVP. I'm totally with you on that. Unfortunately, you know that that's not how they operate, but I'm with you 100%. I don't even know, to be honest with you. I picked the Ravens in the beginning, way back in the summer, to go to the Super Bowl because of what you just said. We know the Bills want to key in on Derrick Henry, but guess what? They got to worry about Lamar Jackson. Although, going back to the MVP conversation, what I've been saying, yes, Lamar has had an amazing season, but Josh Allen don't have Derrick Henry. He don't have James Cook is good, but he is no Derrick Henry that can take over games like he can. So that's why I would make the case for Josh Allen to win MVP, because he doesn't have those elements, and you're supposed to be the most valuable player, which means you're the one carrying the team. And we know Josh Allen is certainly doing that. In years past, definitely Lamar has always carried this team. They never had a Derrick Henry to handle business like that. So, and any result, this boils down to me, it's one of those toss-up games. And if you've seen the show before, you know if it's a toss-up game, I'm going with the home team, especially Rowdy in Buffalo. I definitely like that. LeDuc and Greg going with the Ravens. Fred also going with the Bills as well. So, again, this is a toss-up game. I think it's just going to one of those games boils down to whoever does clock management well at the end of the game, having the ball at the end when they have to either probably score a field goal or a touchdown and win it. I feel that's what it's going to come down to. So definitely excited for that game, and definitely think Buffalo may squeak out a little victory, especially being at home. All right, well, let's close things out today. Of course, if it's not Sunday yet, so you didn't miss church. However, we got church on Saturday for you because our boy Fantasy Jesus in the house. If you're playing DFS, he's about to bless your DFS rosters. Let's check it out.
I'm here to save your fantasy rosters.
Good morning, TSS family. It is DFS time. It is 5 DFS picks for your divisional round. Let's get it kicked off with the Lions. We're going to stick with the Lions for our running back and our quarterback duo. It's going to be Jared Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs, my apologies. Those two guys, I love the matchup. I love all the Lions against the Commanders. I think this is the matchup you really want to hammer home in DFS. And right now, Jahmyr Gibbs is 7,700, appropriately valued, especially with David Montgomery coming back. But Jared Goff is low-key one of the best values of the year at 6,300. Second lowest, Patrick Mahomes is the lowest, also a great value. But this is going to be a huge matchup for the Lions. I love their odds to absolutely demolish the Commanders in this game. Go out and get as many lines in your DFS lineup as possible. And then we're going to go to the wide receiver position. I like A.J. Brown this week. All the stirring about Jalen Hurts having a bad week. You know, he only threw for like less than 150 yards, yada, yada. Look for this game to be the real game to break through. And I think the big guy that's going to be getting it is the guy reading the book on the sideline, A.J. Brown. I look for him to have a monster game against the Rams, who don't have a shutdown corner to shut him down. Next, we got the tight end position. I love Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, this is his time of year, right? And he's still a screaming value going into this game. 5,000 on DraftKings, and it's worth every bit of it. He's going to be an excellent flex, an excellent tight end. Go out and put him in. This is his time of year. This is when Travis Kelce shines. Finally, we got the Chiefs defense. Chiefs have already handled the Houston Texans this year. I look for this game to be a lot different. I look for C.J. Stroud to have a very hard time with all aspects of this Chiefs defense. I think it's going to be a suffocating loss for the Houston Texans. You're going to want to get the Chiefs defense in your lineups because they're going to make you some money this weekend. That is 5 DFS picks from your Fantasy Jesus. May your lineups be blessed.
I'm not sure who to start this week.
Trust in your Savior.
Trust in your Savior, indeed. Well, thanks for joining us on this Saturday morning. We'll be back I think it's Sunday next week. We'll probably do it on Sunday again, back to our original time. It's only 2 games unless they're doing the Saturday-Sunday thing, which I don't think they do anymore. I didn't even look, so that's my bad. But you can see us next week, of course. And then don't forget Super Bowl morning. check us out right here on That Sports Podcast Network. Our big Super Bowl special we hold every year. We got some good guests lined up coming on and some good stuff for you. We're going to give you eats. We're going to play some games. We're going to obviously go through the stories of the AFC and NFC and some good entertainment stuff as well. Just some tips for you to watch the game. So make sure you check us out. Super Bowl Sunday morning. We're going to be starting that at 9 a.m., running up till 12 because, we had a whole day of nothing until the game starts. So make sure you check us out on Super Bowl Sunday morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we're about out of here. I was waiting for Justin to get back to his seat, but apparently he's got something to do. So either way, we appreciate all of you for joining us this morning. We'll see you next week and have some good times today because we got some good football to watch. From us to you, we appreciate you, and we are out.